Hey, Sully, how are you today?
Get you back in your normal 9:15 slot here, so give you a little sleep.
I think you're a little late today. Gary must have been before me.
Yeah, he gets rolling. You know how he is. Well, we didn't have him on there for about 2 months, so he was ready to go, and he had some pent up energy. He wanted to talk all about Holy Spirit football and Pleasantville and all the whole United division. So we got a pretty good rundown of that division.
There you go. He's getting himself all fired up. So
yep.
He's getting ready for the start of the season, which is a good thing.
Yep. Yeah, we wanted to get your expertise on the Constitution and Diamond, some teams you were very familiar with during your time at the Courier Post, squads like Camden Catholic, Cherry Hill West, Pennsville, Salem. So let's dive into those divisions real quick and give me some of your thoughts on, obviously you look at last year, Camden Catholic and Cherry Hill West were the premier teams in that Constitution division. You also had Pennsauken and Seneca. Camden, a little bit of a strange season for Camden, I guess. Finished up 3-7. They did have that big win over Cedar Creek.
Yeah, Camden last year was coming off a season where they had some guys that had been 4-year players for them, and obviously last year I think was the first kind of a transition year they've gone through, probably in a little while. So some guys that really didn't get a whole lot of playing time. Finally hit the field, and when you lose guys like a Ron Johnson and a Brad Hawkins, two guys that are now at Michigan, amongst some other players too, they were very talented. Demian Thomas now at Maine, and a few other guys. It's going to be a little bit of a transition period, and that's kind of what they went through last year. Their schedule was pretty difficult schedule for them, for a team that had a lot of newcomers participating, and they took a little bit of some lumps here and there, but I think Dwayne Savage does a real nice job with them, and I think at this point, that era of Camden football that had Brad Hawkins, Ron Johnson and stuff, that's clearly over now, and a new crop of kids are coming in that are ready to show what they can do. So I think you're going to see a little bit better of a Camden football team this year.
What about Cherry Hill West? That was the team you were pretty high on last year, and they obviously had a great season, finished up 8-2. What are the odds they can repeat a season like that?
West took a little bit of a hit in that they lost two really, really solid players. They lose Lorenzo Hernandez, a lineman and fullback, also an outstanding wrestler. He's at Villanova now. And then you look at the other guy that they lose, really a stud and one of the better players, it turns out, in the country, in Harrison Hand, now at Baylor. Harrison was clearly one of the best defensive backs in the state and amongst the best in the country. And he also did a tremendous amount of things offensively and in special teams, running the football. So, there's two guys right there that, are huge shoes to fill, but I'm not, I don't think people are looking at it so much that they want to do it that. I think, you look at a team that, it's a cycle like every other school, and it's time for them to kind of, pick things up and see what they can do. They got a very talented running back in Nick DeVitro back this year. Solid quarterback back in his first name escapes me again. His last name is Williams, but I think West, Brian Wright's done a nice job at West. I think he'll continue to do so, and West is clearly not a doormat team anymore, and they're gonna challenge in that division.
Kev, I'd be a little bit surprised if Camden Catholic did go undefeated in that division again. Obviously, they're one of the better squads in that division, but when you talk about the competition there, Seneca's always a tough team, and Camden obviously going to be better. Even Winslow, we'll see if they can rebound from a 2-8 season. But with West, Pennsauken, Seneca, Cam, that's going to be tough to run the table again.
Yeah, it will be tough for them. Camden Catholic, another team that lost some key players, and they were very young last year, and a lot of young guys had an opportunity to see the field, but really, when push came to shove, the ball got in the hands of Nazir Streeter. But Camden Catholic's got a very talented junior quarterback in Rob McCoy. a very good linebacker in Marcus Hillman, and a lot of other kids that, like I said, last year they were young, got an opportunity to play a little bit. I think this year's team is still going to be on the younger side. I think it's going to be a lot of nominated by a lot of juniors, but I think Camden Catholic's going to be very strong. Nick Strom has done a real nice job there since he took over. I think he's yet to lose to a South Jersey team. They're going to be it's going to be difficult to run the table in that division because I think it's going to be a little bit more parity this year. But Camden Catholic is, to start out the season, I think you have to look at Camden Catholic, as the favorite in that division, whether they were on the table or not. But they're going to be okay. You mentioned the Winslow team, I think Kemp Carr is going to, he's going to have them a little bit together more. Winslow always has a tremendous amount of athletes, and Kemp came in last year and really did a nice job, and I think will continue to do so. So. Throw that into the equation. Throw a Pennsauken team that, like another team that always seems to have a lot of athletes, and Clinton Tab getting another year to work with those kids. So I think you're going to see a very competitive division. Like I said, Camden Catholic is probably the team to beat, but I think there's some other teams in there that can give them some get into the mix. And Seneca, as another team is one that can. Is no pushover either. Kevin Giselle is one of the better wide receivers in South Jersey and a tremendous athlete. He's a very, very good baseball player going to Binghamton. But, I think that division, from top to bottom is pretty there's a lot of parity there. So I think, that should be an interesting one to watch.
I'll be interested, Kevin, to see that Camden Catholic Holy Spirit game. They got to go on the road this year down to Spirit, and that's going to be, Spirit's going to be kind of foaming at the mouth to get back at them. I don't think that was a game they expected to lose last year.
No, I think Spirit, I haven't really done a whole lot of homework quite yet on Spirit, but I think Spirit's going to be one of your better teams in South Jersey this year. I know with Josh Samat coming over at quarterback, he's a very, very good player, capable of running the football, throwing the football. So I think, obviously, when that game comes around, it's going to be what do they call them? Holy Wars now? Is that what they call them down that way?
Yeah, right.
I think that'll be tabbed one of those games. So, Spirit's going to be. I think Spirit's going to be a very, very good team this year once again.
How about the Diamond, Kevin? You're talking about teams like Pennsville, Salem, Woodstown, Pennsgrove, Deptford, Glassboro. Pennsville won that division last year. And Salem was right behind them, but Salem loses the big running back. What's his name again?
Jonathan Taylor.
Taylor, that's right. Yeah, Taylor. I mean, he just tore up South Jersey last year, and he's obviously out of Wisconsin now. So. Yeah,
John. It's funny you bring up Jonathan Taylor first because I just flipping through the Twitter feed. I believe Wisconsin had their first scrimmage, and I think Jonathan Taylor, the first time he touched the ball, went 70 yards for a touchdown against the first team defense. So, no, Jonathan Taylor is clearly a player that Salem will miss, and South Jersey for that matter. An electrifying football player, very, very good. Obviously, you don't go to Wisconsin by accident, so.
No.
That's some huge shoes to fill down at Salem, but Salem's got himself, the cupboard's not bare, and they have a very good athlete and running back down there, Zaire Jones, who obviously will step into the role that Jonathan filled last year. And Zaire was a 1,000-yard running back on his own last year, and I think he's going to get himself a boatload of touches. And when you look at the crop of running backs, I think you keep your eye on Zaire Jones, but. You mentioned Pennsville, and Pennsville's lost a lot of guys too that it helped them to become a very good football team. And this year they'll have a couple. They got a handful of guys back, and Nick Bard is one of them. He'll running back, linebacker type of player, and he's a potential 1,000-yard runner for them too. So I think Pennsville, first year new coach coming in, Coach Healy, and. I think they'll be competitive, but that's another division I think where there's going to be a lot of balance and and a lot of parity. So a bunch of smaller schools, obviously the small Group 1 schools, and It's going to be a week-to-week battle in that division to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, even Woodstown 6-4 last year. The Woodies.
Yeah, you look at a Woodstown team who I believe not but maybe 2 years ago, under John Adams was competing in Group 2, I think, at that time, and had ripped off, I want to say, 7 or 8 wins that season. So Woodstown's another school. It's mainly it's a handful of those Salem County schools that are all in that division that makes it very interesting for the people, especially in that area. And you throw a team in like a Glassboro, who that league is that group of teams were from the Tri-County Conference, and you throw Glassboro into the mix there too, and Glassboro's got himself a couple of really, really good athletes. Year after year, Glassboro always seems to have some very good kids. Obviously you look at Corey Clement now with the Eagles being their last real big dominating player, but they've got a kid, Isom Golden, I believe is a junior this year, who really kind of made an impact on that team as a freshman. And he's a very, very talented player, not a real big kid at all, but a very good football player. And then you look at a team like a Pennsgrove, who year after year also produces some really quality kids. And, Tyreek Brown is, I believe, a junior down there too. And he's a very talented linebacker. And I think he's probably going to touch the ball a little bit more offensively this year as well. So, like I said, that division, same as the other division we spoke about, Constitution, that I think that there's going to be some parity in it this year. I think you're going to see some very competitive games, and I don't think somebody's going to be able to run the table.
Kevin, one of the really kind of overlooked rivalries is Pennsville-Penns Grove. I mean, that's a town where a lot of those folks have grown up there. They continue to live and work there after they get out of high school or college, and one of those real neat rivalries, real small town, everybody knows each other type of thing. And when you get those two squads together, it's always a fun game.
Yeah, they play Thanksgiving time every year, and they play for what is called the Norm Willie Boot. Everybody has a bowl or a boot or a big traditional trophy that they play for. Yep. So they play for the boot. They play for the boot down there, and those two teams generally. Most of those kids know each other. The two towns are very, very close up, butt up against each other. And, it's always a very competitive game between those two teams. Sometimes, when the playoffs come around, I think in the recent past, they've had games where they played each other twice. So, when you're able to have these rivalries, the West Jersey League, one of the big things was to kind of maintain the rivalries, and they've done a great job in doing that. And this is another one of those rivalries where the small towns, everybody kind of gets geared up when that time comes around for that game. They get geared up for it, and it's always a battle. So Thanksgiving time again, I'm not sure where the game will be, but when Thanksgiving rolls around again, they'll have an opportunity to compete, and those kids will go at it.
Good stuff as always, Kevin. We appreciate the time, and we'll catch up with you next week. Talk some more high school football.
Hey, we're going to talk some high school football next week, Sully, and I'm going to throw this out to you now. I'm going to throw a splash surprise at everybody next Saturday.
All right.
So people should definitely be tuning in next Saturday. That's for sure.
Awesome, good stuff. I like it. The radio tease.
There you go.
Good stuff, Kevin. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, anytime. Thanks again. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep. Thanks, bud. That was Kevin Minnick, South Jersey high school sports expert. We appreciate his insight.